Don't play with it, don't be dishonest. Ay, still not understanding.
Welcome to Podcast with Sheila, the podcast that inspires through real life experiences. Today, we are diving into a story that will resonate deeply with many. A tale of love, marriage, and parenthood, and the unforeseen weight of balancing it all. This is not just Clara and David's story. It's a reflection of the challenges many families face in today's world. So, take a moment for yourself. Grab a warm drink and settle in as we journey through their lives. When Clara and David met, their connection was instant. Clara was a creative dreamer, passionate about art and brimming with energy. David was her opposite in many ways, practical, grounded, and steady. But isn't that true? That the opposites often attract? Their courtship was full of laughter, late night talks, and shared dreams. Clara often joked that David brought stability to her whirlwind, and David will smile and say Clara brought color to his routine. Together, they felt unstoppable. When they married, it felt like the beginning of a fairy tale. Their first year was filled with joy, Sunday brunches, spontaneous weekend trips, and long conversations about their future. They promised they would always prioritize their connection, no matter what life threw at them. But promises are easy to make when life is simple. The arrival of Ethan, their first child, was a moment of pure joy. Clara cried when she held him for the first time, overwhelmed by love she had never felt before. The sleepless nights, endless nappies, and constant worry were a stark contrast to the freedom they once enjoyed. Clara decided to put her dream of opening an art gallery on hold. She told herself it was temporary, but deep down, a part of her felt a quiet sadness. David wanted to support the growing family, threw himself into work. He took on more projects, staying late to meet deadlines and ensure they had financial stability. At first, they adjusted well, but over time, the cracks began to show. Their conversations became more about logistics, who was picking up nappies, who was paying the electric bill, then about their dreams or feelings. And then came the twins. With 3 children under 5, Clara found herself stretched to her limit. Her days bled together, feeding, cleaning, calming tantrums, and trying to keep the house from descending into chaos. She loved her children deeply, but she began to feel invisible. No one saw the hours she spent trying to make everything work. David, too, was struggling. He felt the immense weight of being the provider, of making sure the bills were paid and the mortgage was covered. But while Clara's struggles were visible, her tired eyes, the toys scattered everywhere, David's burdens were silent. He felt like he was failing as a husband and father, even though he was doing everything he thought was right. One evening, Clara found herself on the kitchen floor. The twins were crying, Ethan was tugging at her sleeve, and the pasta she had been boiling was bubbling over on the stove. When David walked in, she looked up with tears in her eyes and said, "I can't do this anymore." That night, something shifted. For the first time in years, Clara and David sat down and talked, really talked. Clara shared how alone she felt, how she missed the vision of herself that had dreamed beyond nappies and sleepless nights. She told David about the guilt she carried, feeling like she wasn't doing enough for the children, for him or for herself. David listened, and then he shared his side, the pressure he felt to provide, the long hours at work that left him too drained to be present at home. he admitted he often felt like an outsider in his own family, unsure of where he fit beyond being the breadwinner. For the first time, they realized they weren't adversaries. They were on the same team, facing the same storm, but carrying the weight in different ways. The next morning, they made a plan. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. David committed to coming home earlier, even if it meant turning down extra work. Clara decided to carve out some moments for herself, whether it was painting during nap time or joining a local art class on the weekends. They also introduced something new, a weekly family meeting. Every Sunday evening, after the children were asleep, they would sit down together, share how they were feeling, and discuss how they would support each other. Over time, these small changes made a big difference. Clara found joy in painting again and even started selling her artwork online. David discovered that being present at home was far more rewarding than any promotion. But most importantly, they began to reconnect, not as parents or partners managing a household, but as two people who loved each other deeply. Clara and David's story teaching us several important lessons. 1. Communication is key. Many relationships falter not because of lack of love, but because of lack of understanding. Take time to truly listen to your partner. 2. Shared burdens strengthens bonds. When both partners share the load, whether it's financial, emotional, or practical, it strengthens the relationship. 3. Self-care is not selfish. Clara's decision to prioritize her passions didn't just help her, it made her a better partner and parent. 4. Small changes make a big impact. Big transformations don't happen overnight. It's the small, consistent efforts that create lasting change. Clara and David's journey isn't unique, but it's a powerful reminder that love, partnership, and balance require effort. If you're feeling overwhelmed, take heart. You are not alone. Talk to the people you love, share the load, and remember to take care of yourself along the way. With my spaghetti meatball coming together, I can't wait to serve myself a plate and dig in. This looks delicious. Join me if you can. However, thank you for tuning in to Podcast with Sheila. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, stay inspired, stay strong, and keep building the life you love. Have a brilliant day. Bye.